24 hours ago, the world of professional wrestling lost another living legend. Earlier this year, we mourned the passing of the famed Howard Finkel. Tonight, we mourn the passing of the Ugandan giant, the mighty Kamala. Hello, friends, and welcome to another edition of Ridiculously Raw. I am Anthony Florio. I am joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel, Didi Woodson, awaiting the presence, perhaps, of the phenom Michael Bullock. If he comes in, we'll catch him up on what he missed. If not, then we'll hopefully have him Wednesday night on Wednesday Night Mayhem. But we didn't have a show last week because last week's Monday Night Raw was an absolute garbage show. Tonight's show was a little better, but not that much better, honestly. But we don't want to be a disservice and call off another week's show. We don't want to do that. We want to give you the best content as much as possible. So that's what we do here. So, and we also wanted to address this. I cannot believe for the life of me, for the second consecutive show that we've done, because we didn't do one last week. The last show we did, we all mourned the passing of one of the greatest personalities of all time in Regis Philbin. I never thought in a million years I would end up having to do this yet again, and it's becoming commonplace around here. But nonetheless, we were informed right around 8 o'clock last night by Derek Ferreira. He messaged this to us in our Messenger Wrestling Forum Messenger channel on Facebook, and you know it's sad when you think about it. Mighty Kamala. He was 70 years old, and he passed away on my birthday. I mean, that makes it even harder for me. I mean, it's not the first time that a legendary performer has passed away on my birthday. 25 years ago, one of the great rock and roll musicians of all time, Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, he passed away on my 12th birthday back in 95. And on this, my 37th, we end up having to mourn another passing here. And I'm going to drop this for just a moment because I want to, address his accomplishments. Not too many. In the Continental Wrestling Association, he was an AWA Southern Heavyweight Champion. In the Great Lakes Wrestling Association, he won their heavyweight championship. An NWA Mississippi Heavyweight Champion. An NWA United States Tag Team Championship, Tri-State version, an NWA Tri-State with Oki Shikina. Pro Wrestling Illustrated ranked him number 144 of the 500 best singles wrestlers of the PWI years in 2003. In Southeastern Championship Wrestling, he won the NWA Southeastern Heavyweight Championship, Northern Division. Southeastern Extreme Wrestling, he was the SXW Hardcore Champion. 2012 was inducted into the Texas Wrestling Hall of Fame. And in the United States Wrestling Association, he won their Unified World Heavyweight Championship 4 times. All the other belts he won were only 1 time. Of course, we best remember Kamala as mainly for his time in the WWE, where he had some legendary rivalries, including the likes of the immortal Hulk Hogan. He had a title program with him in the 80s. I also remember him competing and defeating the great Jake the Snake Roberts on an episode of Saturday Night's Main Event on May the 2nd of 1987, which was the first Saturday Night's Main Event after WrestleMania 3 at the University of Notre Dame. Well, a lot of people best remember Kamala for his feud with The Undertaker in 1992, which culminated in 2 matches, the first of which was as part of SummerSlam 1992, one of the greatest SummerSlams of all time, one of my personal favorite SummerSlams of all time. I watched that back a couple of weeks ago because every year when we get to the point of SummerSlam, I make it a mission to relive every single SummerSlam on a daily basis up until that year's SummerSlam. And a couple of weeks ago, I relived that 92 SummerSlam. And I'll tell you what, every time I watch that thing back, I get goosebumps upon goosebumps watching that back, especially the main event. You already know that story. But Kamala had a match against The Undertaker. I'll grant it. It was not much of a match. It was a dud match, if I'm going to be honest with you. But we never forget the scene of Undertaker rising up and him running for his life down that long ramp at Wembley Stadium with Harvey Whippleman and Kim Chi. And then, of course, fast forward 3 months later at the Survivor Series, he and Taker met again. Only this time it was in the first ever coffin match. Before they called it a casket match. It was a coffin match. Taker won that as well. Taker won the SummerSlam match via disqualification. But one other memory that came up in his WWE career was one on the comedy side of things when Reverend Slick attempted to teach him bowling, along with another late great, Lord Alfred Hayes. And those were some of the best memories that I remember. Of course, he also worked for WCW. I believe at one time he was a member of the Dungeon of Doom down there and had some moments there. And of course, he came back to WWE, made some occasional appearances. And one I think it was, I want to say it was the night of WrestleMania 17 when, he was a part of that gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17. And earlier in the night, he was seen in William Regal's office acting funny, and William Regal was not having it. But anyways, it's a shame he didn't do much in the WWE, but he had some great moments. And we all remember Kim Chi was his manager, and he also had another legendary manager at one time in his corner. Another late great, Mr. Fuji, was what served as one of his managers at one time. And of course, we all will never forget Harvey Whippleman when he was Dr. Harvey Whippleman, and those legendary confrontations he had with Howard Finkel and the whole 9 yards. But nonetheless, on behalf of all of us here at the Wrestling Forum and all that, before I get into that, he had a lot of health issues, mainly starting in 2011 when he had his left leg amputated because of high blood pressure and diabetes. Condition he had since 92, which forced him to retire because he did not accept dialysis treatment. And then he had his other leg amputated several months later, below the knee. And a campaign was launched seeking donations to cover his financial needs. And he relied on a disability check, sold handmade wooden chairs, recently had written a book about his life. And then in November of 2017, he underwent life-saving emergency surgery to clear fluid from around his heart and lungs at a hospital in Oxford, Mississippi. Life support after that. His daughter said he had showed signs of improvement. And then just last week, 5 days ago, this past Thursday, August 5th, he tested positive for COVID and was hospitalized. He likely contracted it from one of his numerous weekly visits to the dialysis center, according to his wife. And due to COVID-19, he started to experience complications from his diabetes, went into cardiac arrest yesterday before passing away at the age of 70. And he was survived by a wife and his daughter, and he had a couple of children there. So, but anyways, we here at the Wrestling Forum, we would like to take this moment to to send our thoughts and our prayers and our condolences to the family, friends, and colleagues, and those who are fortunate enough to work with Kamala, and a lot of legends and Hall of Famers have been posting their support, their memories of him on their social media accounts, and of course, WWE did a nice tribute to him on Monday Night Raw this evening. Well done as always, and so we send our thoughts and our prayers and our condolences to his family, his friends, all who were fortunate enough to work with him. And as we always say to Kamala, we say thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and thank you for the mighty Ugandan giant, Kamala. Rest in peace, good sir. You will be missed. Good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in. Let's this was a shock to all of us, but then again, with all the issues he had, it's no surprise, unfortunately. But we wish him all the best, and I know you have some thoughts you'd like to share on this.
Yeah, it was obviously shocking. It was a heartbreaker. We all knew about Kamala's, especially his condition in the last 10 years or so, how it took a turn for the worse. You talked about his legs being amputated due to the diabetes and everything else, and now this. I think a lot of people are saying it that they're sad, they're heartbroken, but I guess the one good thing is he's no longer suffering. And I think that's something that we hear a lot of people about, especially if there's like a history of medical issues, cancer, you know, um, whatever, that they're no longer suffering. He's finally at peace, and I think it's tough to hear, and it's tough to try to wrap your head around that. But Kamala was unique. He was a very unique individual. He was a good wrestler. Like you said, he didn't really have that much success in WWF. However, he did really well outside of World Wrestling Federation. But he was quite a legendary figure. Um, he was, he was unique character, and I think that's the best way to say it. Yes, we all remember his rivalry with The Undertaker back in '92. That was really his claim to fame. Um, but as much as we may say, you know, it's tough, and this world is never easy, and especially in this year, I'll say it like this, man. I'm waiting for December 31st. Screw saying Happy New Year. I hope all you people out there say it's Jumanji, because this is a sick game that we're being played with right now. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. Didi Woodson, I'll just give it to you.
Yeah, I actually got to hear. I guess it was a video or something that Kevin was watching where Jerry Lawler was talking about how Kamala was actually created, where it was him and Jerry, uh, Jerry Jarrett that got together and actually with um, with Harris, and they created this this character and this little, I guess you could say, this little monster that just grew and grew and grew, and now, he's a legend in his time. He's fought Andre the Giant. We've mentioned Undertaker. We've mentioned several that he's fought, but I think his actual debut as Kamala was in Continental Wrestling Association and was against, if I remember from that interview, was against Lawler himself. So yeah, it was kind of neat to see or to hear how the character was actually created. I mean, he's got a long list of accomplishments. Yeah, not a lot of title reigns, not very much accomplishments in WWE, but I mean, he's been in several organizations, and he's had a long list of different characters, different ring names. But yeah, I mean, he's had a good long life, good long career, and being a person who does have diabetes, I understand. Um, he had a lot of complications, and there's a lot of stuff that you have to watch for with it. So yeah, he's definitely going to be missed. He was definitely a presence that a lot of people, um, at that time feared, but at the same time, he was a great competitor, and I plan on one of these days actually sitting down and rewatching some of his old matches, because I kind of miss seeing some of the stuff that he used to do. So yeah, I'm not going to add too much more. It's yours, Florio.
Yes, indeed. Certainly will be missed, no question. And he's a presence that will never be forgotten. And all those promotions he worked for, and yes, he did work in WCW. That was in '95, part of Dungeon of Doom, and of course his sporadic appearances in WWE. Like I said, WrestleMania 17. 2004 was in one of those Raw Diva Search segments, and he actually fought Randy Orton in 2005 on a SmackDown, and in that Taboo Tuesday. But it is what it is, and he certainly will be missed. So let's get to the business at hand here. Hard to move on, but we got to move on here. Monday Night Raw, of course, which was once again from the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, on the USA Network. The penultimate edition of Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam. Next week is the go-home show. And we started it off with a contract signing, which we didn't see coming. It was Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio. But in Dominic Mysterio's case, he was signing 2 contracts, not just for the match with Rollins at SummerSlam, but also for the right to call himself a WWE superstar. He signed his WWE contract this evening. And then it led into a match with Seth Rollins against Humberto Carrillo, which Seth Rollins won. But Samoa Joe, by the way, was the moderator for this segment. So yes, I'll tell you what. Like I said, this Raw was not any better than last week. It was a little better, not a whole lot. But this was one of the few good things about this show this evening. This was probably the second best segment of the night, although there was another segment that, unbelievable. But with this, by the way, Rollins won in 3 minutes and 5 seconds. So we're not really going to get into the match. But as far as the segment goes, yeah, this was a solid segment, Joe. He is arguably the best promo in the business right now, and it showed. He added layers to an already established rivalry. It clearly got under the Messiah's skin, given his dominant performance in the ring and post-match attack on Dominic. The clash with Carrillo was such a slap in the face of the Mexican superstar. He continues to be marginalized when he was once treated as an equal in the resistance movement to the Mysterios and Aleister Black. But it'll be interesting to see what Dominic can do in the ring. His father is one of the best of all time. But the push he is receiving feels too much like, is it an attempt to get Ray re-signed? Is he truly more talented than Carrillo? The answer, almost certainly no. However, WWE at least feels he is a bigger star. So And of course, the match was, whatever. But the one thing that did come out of this, MF, I'm gonna bring MF in here. The one thing that came out of this thing, though, the welts. Did you see the welts on 23-year-old Dominic? Oh my God.
Dude, it's all over social media right now. It's all over social media right now. It's all over Twitter. I mean, my God. My God. Um, you know, we always. I know Didi Woodson affectionately loves to talk about the checkered apron, taking somebody out back and beating them with the checkered apron. Dominic Mysterio literally got beaten with the checkered apron tonight. Like the welt on the back. I don't even know if they're gonna fully heal leading into the match at SummerSlam. I hope that heals because my God, man. You want to talk about welcome to the WWE, kid? That was if that was an initiation, man. Good God. There's really nothing more to add. I mean, yeah, the segment was fine for what it was worth, and holy crap, Didi, it's yours.
Yeah, that kid took quite a beating. I mean, he had marks on both sides of his body. I mean, you had Seth beating one side and the disciple Murphy beating the other side. I mean, Seth even broke a kendo stick. So the poor kid, he took so many hits. And, you've got to commend him for being able to go out there and do that. But still, that's not the way you want to have your first official night as a WWE superstar to go. But, it is what it is. He's defending his family honor and definitely has his nationality behind him. That's you got more than just Humberto that's standing behind him, more than just Samoa Joe standing behind him. I mean, you have that whole Mexican community that's standing behind him on this, and rooting for him and everything and cheering him on. So something is going to be there to drive him on even more as he gets ready for this match. And like I said, I commend him for going through with all this and everything. So welcome to the WWE, and I'm sorry you had to take hell for it. Me personally, I'm ready to take Seth Rollins out behind the shed and lay him over my checkered apron and beat the crap out of him too. So, I've seen a lot of interviews with him lately, and he's been pretty much a jerk lately. So, but this just kind of cements it just that little bit more. So, not much more I'm going to add. It's yours for you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's the mother side of Didi Woodson that just came out. So,
oh yeah, Mama was not having it, boys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, but anyways, now I'm going to be honest here. A lot of these matches were so, but there are two matches that we're definitely going to get into, the two big main events. That's a no-brainer there. But you know me, I always want to be sure of everything. So I'll run down the lineup, and if you want to get into it, we can.
Basically, let's just focus on the two fights, Anthony. If there's only two matches that really stood out the whole night, then let's focus on the two matches.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I'll just cut it out and I'll give it a brief synopsis there. So, anyways, first up, we had Andrade squaring off against Angelo Dawkins. Angelo Dawkins won the match 4 minutes. Andrade and Garza lost a match to the Street Profits the week before they became number one contenders, so the singles loss adds to them looking weak heading into the pay-per-view. Of course, it's WWE, so that probably means Andrade and Garza will maybe win the belts at SummerSlam. You never know. Then we saw Bianca Belair going up against Zelina Vega. Actually, this might have been a little bit of a standout here. Bianca Belair defeating Zelina Vega 6 minutes and 20 seconds. And from the reviews I've read, I think this should be a match we probably should get into here. So
I'm just gonna make a brief statement on this. It was a solid fight, and actually, this is something that got parlayed off of something on Twitch. Now, normally, I'm a Twitch guy. I'll openly admit it. A couple of my buddies does Twitch. Paige actually has her own Twitch now, and Zelina does too. Well, what happened was Zelina was being interviewed by SmackDown's own Kayla Braxton, and they were just talking about video games and whatnot. And all of a sudden, Bianca Belair showed up at Zelina's house and jumped her. Literally beat her down in her house. That was, and yo, you want to talk about freak out moment? We all were like, wait, what? What? How did Bianca get in there? What is going on? So, no, Bianca jumped her on Saturday afternoon, and boy, did it hit the rounds. It exploded on social media that Bianca had pulled this stunt. So, yeah, I mean, now you go into the match. Not bad of a fight. I'll give this about maybe 2.5 stars. I thought it was a solid match. Bianca gets a big win, but Anthony, I think you kind of alluded. I think what's gonna happen is I think the Street Profits will lose the belts coming up. So no, nothing more to say. And Didi, it's yours. 2.5 stars for me.
I'll give a solid 3 stars. I mean, these girls did very well in the ring, and they did a lot of back and forth and everything. But I could side with Bianca on this. I mean, you see something happen to your other half when you're married, you want to defend them, and that's pretty much what she's trying to do. No, we don't have the actual proof that Zelina or her flunkies had anything to do with it, but they are the top suspects, and in her eyes, they're guilty, and they have to be proven innocent to her. So, but yeah, this match they did very well. So yeah, not much more I'm going to add. It's yours, Florio.
Yeah, 2.5 to 3 stars for that one. This women's match worked much better. It was pure physicality. Vega got to show off her talent in the ring, and the WWE Universe got the best view so far of the EST's ability. It was a classic battle of crafty heel versus resilient babyface that sold Belair as a dangerous force in the women's division. This story continues to evolve, and it would be fascinating to find out if someone else poisoned Montez Ford. There's plenty of opportunity for a reveal that can make the Raw Tag Team division more interesting. Lord knows we need it. So, but anyways, 2.5 to 3, absolutely. Sleeper fight of the night. Well done. Then we had the VIP Lounge MVP, the Hurt Business with Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, and interrupted by the United States Heavyweight Champion Apollo Crews, and then all hell breaks loose, and it leads into a match with Apollo Crews against Shelton Benjamin. Shelton Benjamin winning the match. Shelton Benjamin actually wins the match, and unfortunately, it was back to reality in a sense, with a champion losing a non-title match. I know how much MF has preached on that recently, but unfortunately, that's really all there is to say on that. So I don't have a time of the fall, but it was all right for what it was. I'm not really going to get into it. The Hurt Business rivalry with Cruz is wearing thin. While it's nice to see Benjamin picking up wins finally, his victory leading to another Cruz versus MVP match feels counterproductive. If the champ's going to lose, the man who beats him should get a title shot. The match was, solid and okay and a little fun for what it was. Benjamin is still immensely talented and works well with Cruz. The two have similar flashy athleticism alongside impressive muscular frames. More time they have together, the better the match. So that's all I'm going to say there. So we're going to, continue on here. Backstage moment with Mickie James. Mickie James, first time in over a year, back on the show. And then Lana and Natalya, I mean, that was absolute garbage, cheap garbage. We're not even going to dignify that with any sort of comment whatsoever. So we're just going to, boo by that. And then an 8-man tag team match. Oh, yeah, this will put some butts in the seats and eyes on the screens. Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, and the Viking Raiders against Akira Tozawa and his ninjas. Cedric Alexander, Ricochet, Viking Raiders, 1 minute, 10 seconds. Dud. Who cares? Worst fight of the night. And then it doesn't get any better. Now, granted, I love Liv Morgan. I love me some Liv Morgan. I really do. Beautiful young woman. Absolutely. And another beauty, Peyton Royce. Peyton Royce winning the match, 2 minutes. Pointless and unnecessary feud. There's really nothing left to say on that. We're not even going to, address that. So, and then we all remember a week ago on Raw, we had the debut of the Raw Underground. And I'm going to tell you one thing, folks. Dee Woodson was not a fan of it. And I'm guessing she probably is still not a fan of it. But MF, I'm very curious. What do you think of Raw Underground? I mean, I know this is the kind of fighting I know that you love. I know you love the the physical, hostile fight. And how do you feel about Raw Underground? I know Dee not a fan of it, but are you a fan of it?
I was definitely on the fence, and I don't mind the little Fight Club type mentality that they had, but this time around, yeah, I mean, first time out, not too happy. I didn't really like it that much, didn't really care for it. Tonight, though, they actually emphasized it a lot better than they did the first time around because of who they had in the Underground tonight.
Yeah. You had you had Cal Bloom and you had Riddick Moss in there. You also had that freak, that 7 foot freak Dabba-Kato. Oh my goodness, that guy's a freak. Arturo Ruas, 17-time amateur wrestling champion out of Brazil. And then you had Shayna Baszler. And what she did, oh my goodness. Hopefully the answer to Shane's question is that these segments will start to develop more of a structure and a purpose. I mean, they showcase the winning fighters nicely, and that's something, but it still all feels too random. That's really all there is to say on the Raw Underground. Now we're going to get into the two big matches on this night. The first being Asuka squaring off against the SmackDown Women's Champion Bayley. Of course, where Bayley goes, Sasha goes, and vice versa. Caveat was if Asuka won the match, she would get a rematch against Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam. Winner of the match in 15 minutes and 10 seconds, it was Asuka. Asuka did it. Asuka gets her return match. We're not really all, I don't think any of us are surprised by that. She wins it with the Asuka lock. So Dee Woodson, Asuka is going to SummerSlam, and she's got an opportunity to regain the Raw Women's Championship, and I believe she will.
I think she will too. And and not to say anything too negative here, but Bailey, of course, still, she cheated again, and it didn't pay off this time. I mean, Sasha did get involved, and a lot of us know that's not something most of us like to see. Is the cheap type competing like that, but we did have, and I'm going to kind of take a quote off of the announcers here. We did have a submission showcase between these two girls. I mean, they did a lot of different submissions on each other, and they countered each other, and they made, when Sasha wasn't getting involved, they made it very enjoyable match, and they did a great job. And these two worked very well off of each other. And now we have Asuka, who did come out on top at the end, and now gets that chance to go face Sasha at SummerSlam. And like we said, I agree with Anthony. I think Asuka's going to get the title back. Sasha doesn't have a great record for holding titles during pay-per-views. It's been proven several times, and so I don't think they're going to let her have a win on this one either. I mean, because the only reason that she's got it was because of Bayley going out and causing distractions that caused Asuka to have to leave the ring, or to whatever, to help Kairi. So yeah, I think Asuka's going to come out on the end. She's strong competitor. She's definitely got the will. She's definitely got the spirit for it. And Becky said it best when she presented her with the title. I mean, she's a warrior. She's a fighting spirit. So she wants her to go out and do exactly what she was doing. So yeah. I don't have anything negative to say about it. I'm going to give it about 3.5 stars. So, Florio, it's yours.
3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. I mean, these two never disappoint. They never do. I mean, Bayley and Asuka put on a submission exhibition in this match, as Dee said. The transitions in this match were better than even some of the best that pulled off in WWE. While the two have always had incredible chemistry, the face-heel dynamic works so much better for them when Bayley is the dominant one. While the role model has been protected throughout her run, Asuka is treated as the most dominant woman in WWE. It is not a surprise that she made Bayley tap out, especially since the role model had no reason not to tap. She had nothing to lose. So, incredible match. I mean, these two have chemistry dating all the way back to their legendary match at TakeOver Dallas 4 years ago, before WrestleMania 32, when Asuka took the NXT Women's Championship from Bayley, and that's really all. So, but an incredible match, and these two deliver again. No surprise here. One of the few bright spots of the show, and one of the things that saved this show from being yet another dumpster fire tonight. So, fight of the night, 3.5, 3 3/4 of a star. Sasha gets her rematch at SummerSlam, and like Dee said, I fully believe she'll get the title back, because let's face it, Sasha does not have a great track record, especially with that Raw Women's Championship. So wouldn't surprise me if she dropped it again. Wouldn't surprise me. So nothing more to say. MF, fight of the night, and here's one of the things that saved this show from being yet another train wreck.
Yeah, absolutely. Great matchup, great battle, and we have a winner, and that's Asuka. She goes on. Now she gets to fight Sasha at SummerSlam for the Raw Women's title. Great matchup, great battle. There's really nothing more to say here. This is at least 3.5 to 3 3/4. Definite fight of the night. Nothing more to add. Anthony, it's yours.
And the other big main event on this show this evening, and one that I know MF had a very vested interest with, the Viper, Randy Orton, squaring off against Kevin Owens. Randy Orton wins the match, 13 minutes and 15 seconds. But that was not all. Post-match segment, Randy Orton turning his back on Ric Flair. And this was WWE's way of writing off Ric Flair because they obviously, because he is a high risk of COVID and all that stuff. So there was a dirt sheet that came out saying that WWE was planning on writing off Ric Flair, and well, they wrote him off tonight in a fantastic post-match segment, to say the very least. And then the WWE champion Drew McIntyre came out and chased off Orton and checked on Ric Flair as he was being tended to by the medical technicians there, the EMTs and what have you. So no question here, this was the second best fight of the night. I'm going to give this about 3 to 3.25 stars for my rating on this. This was a great main event. While Asuka versus Bayley was the better match of the night, it was not the fault of either man here. Randy Orton is working at the highest level of his career, and Kevin Owens does not take a single day off. This is a preview for a major pay-per-view bout down the line. What took this over the top was the promo that followed. Ric Flair did not work as a manager with Orton, but this promo was worth it. The Nature Boy just cut his best promo in decades. It was his most emotional and passionate promo since he retired. This also was perfectly timed to avoid an unnecessary appearance from Flair at SummerSlam. Drew McIntyre has extra motivation watching his opponent once more injure a legend who is not remotely cleared for action. This feud continues to be the best thing going on Monday Night Raw. No question about it. I'm going to bump the rating up just a smidge. I'm going to take it up to about 3.25 to 3.5 stars, but it is still the second best fight in the night. Asuka Bayley was just a smidgen better. So, excellent work all around. That was great. So, nothing really more to say. MF, I mean, this is why, I know for a fact, this is why you love Randy Orton so much. Not just his wrestling ability, but also, I mean, I'm sure you enjoyed the match, but I know you enjoyed that post-match segment just a little more because we got to see, once again, your boy, the Legend Killer, do it again. So, come on, MF, admit it. You enjoyed the hell out of that segment. I know you did.
This was really good. And it once again cements why Randy Orton is the best heel in WWE today. The sadistic, the evil, the psychotic, and he just sold out Ric Flair. I mean, who does that? Who in their right mind would be so sadistic enough to drop a low blow on Ric Flair and then punt his head off tonight? That is Randy Orton in a nutshell. And there's people that love him, and there's people that hate him for what he does. And that's all you're going to get. There's really nothing more to add. Randy Orton once again solidifies himself as a dangerous threat for the WWE title. And for Drew McIntyre, yeah, this is added motivation now. Because of the fact he said, what do you do, or what do you do? You don't care about anybody in the company. You never cared about them except for yourself. And sure enough, he opened fires. And Orton has done what he does all the time. So yeah, absolutely no doubt about it. Wow. That's all I can say. It's just wow. It was pretty damn good. So yeah, nothing more to add. So D.D. Woodson, it's yours. I agree with your rating and everything, Anthony.
Yeah, I definitely agree with the rating. Randy's one of the top mind games of WWE. He definitely knows how to get into people's heads, and and right now we have the new, I guess you could say, the version 2.0 of the Legend Killer, where he's just really taking out everybody that he can take out to get to that spot to where he can face Drew McIntyre. And I mean, tonight he hit a nerve with Drew and taking out Ric Flair. But I think a lot of us knew that it was coming to that point to where they were going to pull Rick out again, because Randy don't need a voice box. He doesn't need somebody like Ric Flair to promote him or anything. Randy pretty much can kind of do that on his own. And there's so many of these guys that does have the voice, does have the personality for it, and WWE has a bad habit of putting somebody with them that they think can make them better. And with Randy Orton, you can't do that. There is no way you can put even a legend like Ric Flair, or even I wouldn't even put Triple H back with him. I mean, Randy can do this on his own. He's proven time and time again that he can hold his own and deliver. And he basically did that again tonight, and he definitely set up this storyline and this feud for SummerSlam. And it's one of these to where you're definitely pulling Fletch's line here, shut up and take my money, and let's get this match going, because I think a lot of people are looking forward to seeing how this is going to play out, and how in the end it's going to turn out, and whether Orton will be the one to dethrone McIntyre, or if McIntyre will hold his own and knock the Legend Killer down a few pegs and slay the Viper. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, definitely, this was definitely a very good match. The girls, yes, I agree, they were just a tad bit better, but these guys definitely knocked it out of the park. So not much more I'm going to add. It's yours, Florio.
All right, and we are going to get into our overall final thoughts on this penultimate edition of Monday Night Raw before SummerSlam. And MF, compared to last week, this was certainly better. Not much better, but certainly better than last week. That's for sure.
I mean, it was a cup 1 or 2 notches better, but that doesn't really mean much in the grand scheme of things. But it was solid. It was an okay show. Last week's show was maybe a 1 or a 2. This one was more like a 4, maybe 5 tonight. Not bad, pretty good, solid, alright. Nothing that would write home about, but for what it's worth and for everything that went down, you could give credit where credit's due. I think it was a solid event. So decent Monday Night Raw. But like I said, it wasn't better than last week, but it was okay. So, Dee, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, it was definitely better than last week. No, I'm not a big fan of the underground thing. I don't think they need a Fight Club type thing on Raw. But like Fletch said earlier tonight, they did have at least a little bit, it was a little bit better structured tonight, and you didn't have so much chaos going on, but still, there's, he's already said there's no rules, so it really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just these guys in a ring with no ropes, just beating the crap out of each other, so. It is what it is. I mean, it's a good filler, I guess, for the last hour and everything. But yeah, this was definitely a thumbs in the middle show. It definitely is better than last week. We had a lot more storyline progression this week than we had last week, but we still had a lot of chaos and a lot of stuff we just really didn't need as well, or matches that were just too freaking short. Didn't make sense why some of these matches were going on, but it is what it is. So yeah, not much more I'm going to add. Hopefully I will see you guys Wednesday night. Good night, guys.
All right. Good night, Didi, and we'll hopefully see you Wednesday night. Great to have you back with us here. We missed you here, so good to have you. So yeah, um, yeah, I agree for the most part. I'm going to be a little more generous here. I'm going to give this between 5.5 to 6, and mainly it was mainly because of the double of the two big matches that were promoted, and especially that post match segment with Randy Orton and Ric Flair. I mean that put it over the top for me. And then you throw in that very good opening segment, that contract signing with Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio. I mean, that was very good too. I mean, and then Zelina Vega and Bianca Belair. Wow. I wasn't expecting much of a match there, but man, those two delivered, and then some. Well done, ladies. And they were the sleeper fight of the night, no doubt about that. And then they were the third best fight of the night. Second best was Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and then of course Bayley and Asuka. They stole the damn show like they've done so many times before. But what this Raw will be most remembered for tonight was that outstanding closing segment with Randy Orton and Ric Flair. I mean, that was absolutely awesome. Friends, I suggest you go out of your way to see that, because that was just wow. That definitely ranks up there as one of the best segments of the year. You can make an argument that this might be the segment of the year. This was absolutely outstanding. So that's all there really is to say on that. So now let's get into my Tony's take here. Of course, we're gonna get into Impact Wrestling and 205 Live, and let's dive on in. And we started things off with a TNA World Heavyweight Championship match with Moose defending against Heath Slater, for those of you who don't know. Caveat being, if Heath won the match, that he would earn himself an Impact Wrestling contract. But unfortunately, that did not happen. Moose won the match in 8 minutes and 54 seconds. 2.5 stars. Good match with some really weird commentary choices. They did a good job building up the sympathy for Heath, but it also undersells him if they act like he hasn't done anything to Moose until late in the game. Heath looked really good in there and was the closest thing to beating Moose in several months. I know not everyone loves the guy, but he has an ability to get people behind his character, and if Impact can harness that, they've got something. Then some backstage stuff, and then there was a sit-down interview, Jimmy Jacobs with the new World Tag Team Champions, the Motor City Machine Guns, fresh off their big win over the North a couple weeks ago. And then the North came out and they challenged them to a rematch. And well, guess what? Tomorrow night, we're getting ourselves a rematch. We're getting ourselves a rematch with the Motor City Machine Guns in the North. So get ready for that. That's going to be some good stuff. And MF, I know you wanted to address what had happened recently with the Motor City Machine Guns in the North, but we didn't get a chance to because of well, okay. But MF has left for the evening, I guess. But anyways, that's all there is to say on that. Wrestle House, who cares? Not even going to dignify any of that. We had an Impact World Heavyweight, a real World Heavyweight title match. Eddie Edwards against Sami Callihan. Eddie Edwards wins the match, retains the title, 11 minutes and 54 seconds. 2 3/4 of a star. Eddie Edwards and Sami Callihan are always magic in the ring. This match was not perfect by any measure, but that was in the setup and not the ring work. I don't like that they did the RVD attack and then didn't do anything to sell it. The announcers literally didn't mention it afterward. They felt like two unconnected segments, which was weird. But a good match, though. Well done. Rosemary against Kylie Ray. Well, that was in the Wrestle House. Who cares? Chris Bay and Rohit Raju against TJP and Falaba. TJP and Falaba win the match, 7 minutes, 19 seconds, 2 1/4 stars. Best tag match TJP and Ba have had in a while. Bay and Rohit held up their end nicely. It played well as a good classic sort of bout with a bit of innovative wrestling. So That was good. Next week, we're going to see Havoc and Nevaeh against Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz in a no disqualification match. Jordan Grace against Kimber Lee. And Eddie Edwards will defend the World Heavyweight Championship against an opponent to be determined. Then it was Rich Swann coming out, cutting a retirement promo, interrupted by Eric Young, and then Eric Young beat the holy hell out of him. So, wow. 8 out of 10. Impact delivered a really good show last week. The Wrestle House stuff was, who cares? Add in a great promo from Swann, followed by a nasty attack by Eric Young, and you have a nicely focused show that did good work on building the storylines toward their pay-per-view special coming up called Emergence. They'll be going down within the next couple of weeks, so that's going to be a 2-week event, which I can't wait to see. So that's all there is to say on that. 8 out of 10. Great Impact Wrestling. That's all I can say. Of course, Impact Wrestling will air tomorrow night, 8 p.m., Access TV, with Encore at 11. Sandwiched in between that, of course, is Impact in 60. Tag Team Classics, some of the best tag team matches in Impact history. 10 p.m. tomorrow night following the Impact Wrestling there. So that's all there is to say on that. Now I will quickly get into the 205 Live here. Bear with me for a minute. Okay. Hold on a minute. All right. So my system's a little slow. So, okay. All right. So $205 Live on Friday, and here's what happened here. Okay, here we go. I got it now. Started with Everrise against Everrise was in a squash match. 1 star. Nice to see those guys get a win, but it was an enhancement match where Everrise got the shine, and we got to see a little from the enhancements. I like to see them used again. 4 minutes, 15 seconds, by the way. Who cares? Danny Burch against Tony Nese. This was much better. Far better. Danny Burch wins the match, 10 minutes, 57 seconds. 3.5 stars. Quality match. They were given time. Started slow with the ground game before hitting another gear towards the end. The Aria Davari stuff was kind of out of nowhere, but thankfully it didn't ruin the match as he focused on Lorcan, and it served to piss Danny Burch off enough to finish business. And the announcers also mentioned Swerve was not here to watch Nese's back as an out as to why he didn't come to the ring. Fun stuff there for 2 quality pros. That makes it a 7 out of 10. An easy thumbs up thanks to the main event. Probably the second best match since, in a while. The Everrise match was fine for an enhancement match, and the show flew by like always. You got to check out Nese and Burch, though. 7 out of 10, no doubt about it. So that'll put the bow on the Tony's take here. Michael Bullock, the Phenom, has just come in. He's joined us here. So Phenom, before, hold on. MF just we'll have to get into that in a minute. But anyways, Michael Bullock is here, and Bullock, first things first. We started this show tonight. Me, MF, and Didi. We paid our respects to the Ugandan giant, the mighty Kamala, and I know you definitely have a lot to say about, especially his matches with your man, The Undertaker, back in '92 at SummerSlam and Survivor Series.
Yeah, and like you said, I'll mostly remember Kamala, like you said, for his wars with the Undertaker. From SummerSlam back in 19 '92, and which I watched a few weeks ago. It's always good to relive that again, and of course,
As did I. Yep, as did I.
and of course, we could never forget, of course, the first ever coffin match in WWE history
Survivor Series.
back at the Survivor Series. I mean, that was the reason why the casket match was born, when you had those two go at it. And of course, Kamala was managed by Kimchi, and of course, you can't forget about Harvey Whippleman and
Mr. Fuji as well in his earlier run back in the 80s.
and then don't forget about the Reverend Slick as well.
Yeah, when he taught him that infamous video of the two of them going bowling with Lord Alfred Hayes. Yeah, our boy.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of good memories of the Ugandan giant Kamala. I mean, and he did have some other battles too, besides the Undertaker. I mean, I remember one time he actually fought the immortal Hulk Hogan for the WWE title back then. I mean,
Yes, he did.
you can't forget about that. But yeah, I mean, it's just sad about everything that he went through in his life, all the health problems he had. But at least the one thing we can say now, Florio, is that he's no longer in pain right now. And yeah, I mean, our thoughts and prayers definitely go out to the friends and family of the Ugandan giant, the mighty Kamala. And he definitely left us with some memories that we'll never forget. So yeah, nothing more to say. So now let's get into my thoughts on Monday Night Raw.
Well, with this Monday Night Raw, let's just say certainly
Not that good.
it wasn't the best,
Solid but unspectacular,
yeah.
as you would
Compared to
say.
last week, I mean, last week was horrible, but this week a little better. And we're only going to get into the relevant stuff here. Opening segment, I mean, contract signing and JBL. You know what they always say about contract signings now, don't we?
It doesn't end well.
You're darn right, and it didn't and it certainly did not end well. But there was also a match with Seth Rollins beating Alberto Carrillo. We're not going to get into that, but Seth Rollins and Dominic Mysterio. But in Dominic Mysterio's case, he signed 2 contracts. The first of which was to make Dominic an official WWE superstar, and the other was for the match against Seth Rollins. And Dominic's going to be allowed to use weapons in this match. But after Seth Rollins made quick work of Humberto Carrillo, Dominic Mysterio took an absolute whipping, kendo stick attack by Rollins and Murphy. Bullock, I'm sure you've seen all the photos on social media of what happened to Dominic, all those welts all over Dominic's body. Oh my goodness.
Oh, I'm going to tell you this, Florio. I've seen some kendo sticks that were pretty disturbing. I think this definitely makes it look worse. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I feel bad for Dominic. I mean, he took a lot of kendo sticks shots so bad. I mean, I heard he took about 30 of them.
Oh.
I mean, I'll tell you what. I mean, he's definitely going to be one sore puppy in the morning. I mean,
yeah.
I saw the picture of those, and trust me, folks, I don't think you want to see the photo of it. It's just, just.
Those
Wouldn't you say, Florio, that was probably one of the, if not the worst kendo stick attack you've ever seen?
We've seen a lot of kendo stick attacks in our day. All of us, myself, you, MF, Didi. I mean, we've seen them all, but this one has to rank up there as one of the worst, if not the worst, we have ever ever seen in our lifetime. Oh, you got to feel for that kid. I mean, he's come a long way since he's come a long way since being that 8-year-old boy that won our hearts back at the 2005 SummerSlam, which I just relived the other night when his father, went up against the great Eddie Guerrero in the match that stole the damn show that night.
Yeah, congratulations, Dominic. You're officially a WWE superstar. The bad news, you're gonna be left with a lot of marks in the morning.
Yeah,
Oof.
Indeed.
This is why I never want to be anywhere near a kendo stick. And
same here.
This was a proper example of it. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say when it comes to this. So, Florio, it's yours.
Yeah, it was definitely a strong and violent beatdown that made Dominic look sympathetic while putting heat on the heels. No doubt about it. Anyways, trying to find relevant stuff only. This match here was a surprisingly good match. I didn't think this was going to be any good, but boy, they surprised the hell out of me. Bianca Belair and Zelina Vega, with Bianca Belair winning the match in 6 minutes and 20 seconds. A match that we rated between 2.5 and 3. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I'll give it about 2.5 to 3. Going into this, I mean, I originally thought that this was not going to be anything good, but yeah, from hearing it, it definitely was a really good match. I mean, obviously, I'm sure you heard the big story from the weekend, Florio.
Yeah, the Twitch moment with Bianca Belair and Zelina Vega. I posted it on our forum, and then MF followed it up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could say, Florio, it got real.
It did. Yes, it did.
It sort of reminded me. It reminded me of 1998. Does that bring any memories to you?
1998. It depends.
It's a rivalry that you and I are familiar with. The Undertaker and Kane.
Oh, Taker and Kane. Yeah.
Remember the night when Paul Bearer was at home and he got jumped by the Undertaker?
Oh, that's right. Yes.
It kind of reminded me of that.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah, so
let's
yeah, so go right ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, let's continue on to the relevant stuff here. Asuka versus Bayley. Asuka, no big surprise. Asuka won the match with the Asuka lock. 15 minutes and 10 seconds. We all agreed this was the fight of the night. But the best part is, Bullock, Asuka gets her rematch, and she's got a chance to regain her Raw Women's Championship at SummerSlam against the quote-unquote legit boss.
Yeah, what did you guys rank it?
We said it was the fight of the night, and we gave it between 3.5 and 3 3/4 of a star.
Yeah, I would give it about 3.5 when it comes to this. I mean, definitely it was a really good match here. I mean, no big surprise when you got these two in the ring. So, yeah. But the big thing is, Asuka gets the job done. She gets her rematch, and I'm hoping and praying for you, Florio, that your girl gets the job done.
I have a feeling. My gut is telling me that she's going to, considering Sasha does not have a great track record with holding titles. So it wouldn't surprise me. So we'll wait and see. But before we get to the main event, we didn't get to talk about this last week because we didn't do a show last week. But what do you how do you feel about the new Raw Underground? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm
not a fan of it.
I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, Didi's not either.
What about you guys?
Well, MF said last week was terrible, but he said this week was a little better.
I've really lost interest in it anyway.
All right, so now let's get to the main event. It was Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens. Randy Orton won the match in 13 minutes and 15 seconds. Yes, it was a good match, but what we're really going to remember was what happened after the match. Randy Orton and Ric Flair cutting a great back and forth promo, and then Randy Orton taking out Ric Flair, essentially writing off Ric Flair. So, thoughts on all that?
Yeah, when it comes to the match, I'll give it about 3.25. And yeah, this to me was no big surprise with what happened. I mean, I did hear dirt sheets about them writing off Ric Flair, and obviously this is the way to do it. And obviously, to continue to build momentum for Randy Orton going into his WWE title match and to show why he's a legitimate threat to that title against Drew McIntyre.
So, your overall final thought on this penultimate edition of Raw before we get to the go home show next week?
Yeah, it was a slightly better, but it was still not a good show as far as I'm concerned. What do you think, Florio?
I gave it between 5.5 and 6.
Yeah, it was somewhere in that range. But I mean, it was a step in the right direction. But next week they definitely need to bring their A game, because this is the go home to SummerSlam edition of Monday Night Raw. And
amen.
And I'm going to say this right now, Florio, this show needs to at least be a 7 out of 10.
Sure.
Because if it's not, then I'm putting out the warning right now. The Phenom's coming out, and it's not going to be anything pretty.
It never is. So that's really all there is to say on that. So
So basically now, Florio, now you can put a bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw.
That's exactly what we're going to do. So that will indeed put the bow on this edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We will be back with you on Wednesday night over on MF's channel, BraceFan 95, for Wednesday Night Mayhem, as we will review AEW Dynamite and NXT. Thursday night at 10, right back here on the Tone 25, a very special and loaded edition of Strictly Sports, as we are going to preview the first round of both the Stanley Cup and NBA playoffs. We're going to preview both first rounds, 10 p.m. Thursday night on that. And then 10:30 Friday night, back with MF, we're going to have another edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. We'll review Friday Night SmackDown. Their main event has already been made official for SummerSlam. It will indeed be Braun Strowman against The Fiend, Bray Wyatt, for the Universal Championship. No big surprise on that. That's now official. And we'll see what else they have in store for us on Friday night. And then next week is SummerSlam week, as we will be on the road. We will really be on the road to SummerSlam, the go-home edition of Ridiculously Raw and all that. So we'll have more details on that next week. So that's it. So until Wednesday night, 10:30 for Wednesday Night Mayhem with MF over on BraceFan 95. This is Anthony Florio alongside the Phenom Michael Bullock signing off, and in spirit, of course, good old MF Michael Fletcher, and of course the Twisted Angel Dee Dee Woodson, and of course, once again, before we sign off, I just want to get the graphic back up here. Of course, once again, if you tuned in late, our top story, of course, was the passing of James Harris, better known to all of us as the Ugandan giant, the mighty Kamala. And, he passed away last night on my birthday of all nights. But once again, we want to take this moment. Hold on here. Want to get rid of that. Want to find the thing that I had up here earlier. So, all right. That's much better. Okay. We're going to close this edition of Ridiculously Raw by saying our final goodbye to the mighty Kamala, James Harris, who passed away Sunday night at the age of 70 because of cardiac arrest due to complications of COVID-19 and the whole 9 yards. And like we always say, I'll say it again, to Kamala, we simply say thank you for the memories, thank you for the inspiration, and most of all, thank you for being the Ugandan giant, the mighty Kamala. Rest in peace, good sir. You will be missed. Until Wednesday night, you know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune Forest style. Bye for now, dear friends. God bless you all. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Mayhem, you were watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who's been a part of this one, bye for now. God bless and all that. And remember, no matter what anyone tells you, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. Good night, my friends.